Alright, here we are in game number 1, ladies and gentlemen. Spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Zerg player. Give it up for Toodming, Chinese representative. And his opponent spawned in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. We have the red Terran player representing Team Envious. Give it up for Polt. And again, the winner of this advances on. The loser basically just got to spend the rest of their weekend in Montreal and try and have as much fun as they can after the loss. But of course, I also want to note that the winner walks away going into the round of 8 and secures himself $6,000. The loser walks away not too shy of $4,000, definitely not too bad, but of course that extra $2,000, you can always think about what you could do with that extra $2,000. Polt, I will note also, does not really give two damns about any of the WCS points. He is already qualified, the winner of the entire tournament, and ends up actually qualifying for BlizzCon. They qualify for BlizzCon, they don't need WCS points to qualify. And Polt won the last one. He won the, I believe it was the Summer Circuit Championship. Or maybe it was the Winter. I forget which one, which season it was for. But either way, Polt is qualified and doesn't have to worry about any of it. Toodming, on the other hand, I'm sure would love to get a shot at that. And actually being able to have a Chinese representative of BlizzCon would be pretty sick. So far, though, nothing super crazy happening. We do have Toodming, just 4 Zerglings being made. These are just the 4 or 6 Zerglings that he makes to deal with the Reaper. Had a couple of them sitting in the main base, ready to intercept him, but Polt just moves in straight into the natural expansion, looking for an opportunity. At the same time, behind this, I want to note, he does go for the 2 racks opening, is going to be getting up the much faster stim. And what that allows him to do is do a nice kind of rally straight across the map, put the pressure on fairly early on, right after those 2 medevacs pop out. And he'll already have, or should already have, stim finished up with combat shields on the way, or vice versa. Looks like the Reaper is able to at least force out a couple of buildings, kill off 2 Zerglings. Nothing super terrible, but it is really just about putting a little bit of pressure on your opponent and keeping them honest, as well as also getting a bit of his information on how much gas is being mined, whether or not a Roach Warren comes down, if you can keep that Reaper alive long enough. Although with speed finishing up, it is sort of a foregone conclusion that our Reaper should not be able to get into the main base without dying anymore, even if it ends up sacrificing its life just to get that information out. But like I was saying, stim going to be coming out rather quickly. We do have a reactor going up onto the factory, probably going to be swapped onto that starport to get out 2 medevacs very early on. Apotheosis is one of the longer maps in the map pool. Definitely one of the maps that has the longest distances across the map, and that does buy the Zerg player as well as the Terran player technically a lot more time. Ooh, nice Reaper grenade. Barely ends up surviving with that. I don't know if he's going to be able to survive. Okay, he'll be able to survive. His Toodming lets it survive. He says, you know what? No, you're only alive because I let you survive. I want you to remember that. Of course, Polt is probably coming into this slightly favored just because as it gets into the later stages of a tournament, Polt just turns on some switch that he has in his head, something that he just doesn't necessarily have on in the round of 32. And while I'll say round of 16 is not exactly the moment that I would say super late in the bracket, Polt is still a very fearsome competitor, and we got to see a little bit of that yesterday as he lost one game sort of in a weird manner, and then he just immediately came back and went straight up 3 games in a row, 3-1 his opponent, very dominatingly. Alright, stim is about to finish up. The medevacs are now out, so this is the time for Polt to try and get some damage done. Of course, you want to make sure that you note that no combat shields is around for this push-in. But we do have +1/+1 with melee upgrades coming out for Toodming. So he is looking to try and go into more of the Ling, Baneling, Muta style. This is something that, again, is more popular in Korea. A few Zerg players in the foreign scene do try to go for this. But I will also note that there have been more and more players in the foreign scene, even Nurchio, starting to mix this style into their composition. And it's something that a lot of players and people were saying, like, oh man, the Koreans, they go for this Ling Bling Muta style, and the foreigners, like, who is right on this? What is the better style? But I think the fact that more and more foreigners are trying to mix it in, and I think a few Koreans are trying to mix in the Roach Ravager style, it just goes to show it's like 2 different styles you can try to interchangeably mix in. Polt Gonna try and get as much damage done as possible with his dropping. He's already finding a really nice angle over here. He should be able to clean up every single one of these Zerglings. A really questionable engagement over there for Toodming. Ends up losing so many of his Lings, and now he does not have a Baneling Nest done. I want to note that he needed to keep those Zerglings alive at least until 1-1 finished up. And now he's going to lose Creep Spread. He's going to lose more Zerglings. These Marines, as soon as they find a bad angle, they can just pick up into the medevacs and retreat on out. But they can say, you know what? We find this is plenty fine angle. Okay, well, a couple of those Marines getting close to dying, but he does keep them alive with the pickup. Behind this, Polt also have a third expansion. Whoa, that's a really fast Infestation Pit. Infestation Pit before Baneling Nest. 2-2 starting up. Toodming is really trying to play this out very greedily. And I think if Polt tries to push out with a large number of Marines, yeah, he lost 8 of his Marines in the drop play, but he's got enough back at home. I feel like he can continue to just pump out more units and hit a big timing around the time that his 2-2 finishes up. And it should be hitting right before Ultralists pop out. Infestation Pit, again, still there's a chance that he might just try and stick around and Infestors a little bit longer. Some Zerg players do like to go for the Pathogen Glands upgrade before really quickly teching up to Hive, but no, there is Hive immediately coming out. Again, no Banelings. Just relying on Queens for the anti-air. I don't know if this is going to be enough. I think the Toodming may just fall right here and right now. There's no Zerglings out of the map right now. He's trying to pump some out. Spore Crawler acting as more of an anti-air defense on the Queens. And this could be it. Polt might just straight up win this game with double medevac drops on both sides of the map. I don't really know how much more dominating of a win this could be. This is supposed to be a pressure play. This is supposed to do little bits of damage, but when it's literally taking out your entire opponent's army, it's a really, really dangerous spot. Now, I'm not going to count Toodming out totally just yet. Granted, he's taking an absurd amount of damage. He's not even getting Infestors out. How greedy can you be? He is getting up a ridiculously fast Hive Tech. If he can get to that point, he's got ridiculously good upgrades with 2-2 almost finished up. Maybe he can get Ultralists out. Maybe he can turn the game around. Ultralists are a big game changer in the matchup, but this is really asking quite a bit of the Ultralists, which are not even out yet. 20 Zerglings out. I think there are more Marines out on the map than there are Zerglings. And almost all those Marines are here on the other side of the map doing damage. Fourth expansion is going to get stimmed and gunned down. Medevacs even still, despite how much healing they've been doing, the 2 fresh Medevacs are going to have more than enough energy to actually keep that army alive and heal up through the stims. These units still finding another opportunity. Going to be able to try and take on these Zerglings. I think he has, no, not going to try and chance it. Not going to risk losing any more Marines. He moves into this expansion. Baneling Nest and Ultralisk Cavern. Finally, the Baneling Nest coming down. Oh, those Widow Mines doing some friendly fire damage to the Medevacs. The Medevac's actually getting fairly low on health, but he takes out almost every single one of those Zerglings. Got to be very careful with those Medevacs. Doesn't want to end up losing them, but he's already done so much damage. Looks like the drop on the other side of the map is starting to unload. GG is called. Polt, I mean, could you ask for a more momentum-dominating sweep over there in that game? Just the continuous drop harassment, and Toodming getting punished for having such a greedy style. Like, there's no other way to say it other than that was a ridiculously greedy style. Alright, sounds like Rifkin's not back yet, so it seems like we're going to be just hopping into game number 2 without him. Depending on whether or not he gets back in time. But again, like, that was I cannot emphasize how greedy it is to play without Baneling Nest until you finish Hive Tech and you're throwing down your Ultralisk Cavern. But on top of that, also not doing anything else. Okay, Rifkin saying, yeah, he's still not available. But if he gets an opportunity, he will be able to maybe join us a little bit later on. Either way, still fine. Next map is going to be Frozen Temple. A very different map, much shorter rush distances, but I don't even really know if that would have saved Toodming. If this is something that Toodming continuously tries to do throughout the rest of the series, I'm going to be very worried. I'm just flat out going to be very, very worried for Toodming, because that is something that Polt is ready to punish. Maybe it works against some players. Maybe some players don't put on the huge drop pressure or anything. They don't commit as much. But Polt is one of those players that is very much ready to go for that 2-rex pressure. And he is also the kind of player that is ready to do that same build over and over and over again, because he is worried about execution over anything else. But here we go. Frozen Temple, the map. we'll see who ends up taking it. Game number 2 as we hop into it. Here we are in game number 2, ladies and gentlemen, as we spawn down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map on top of Team Envious's Terran Hope. Give it up for Polt, setting up 1-0 in this best of 5 series for the round of 16. And spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Zerg player. Not gonna give up hope just yet. They still gotta make something happen in game number 2. Give it up for Toodming. Does not want to go down 0-2. We've seen some 0-2 comebacks, coming back from an 0-2 deficit, bringing it back and taking the series 3-2, but it's not something you want to do. It's not something that's easily done. People are already asking right now, why isn't Fear Dragon, why doesn't he have some sort of co-caster? Like, Rifkin has to go attend to a couple of things back at home, so he is here, but he is also not here. He's in the game and ready to hop in whenever he finishes up his stuff, but for now, we're just going to be doing the solo cast, so that's why we don't have Wordy or anyone else joining me. Otherwise, I would have been happy to actually ask them if this was going to be like a long solo cast. Either way, though, we do have spawning pool coming down over here for Toodming. It's going to be a hatch pool, nothing super duper crazy. The only reason why I actually take even note of that is the fact that it is Frozen Temple. This is a map that a lot of players are well known for going 3-Rax Reaper on. And if you see a 3X Reaper, if you anticipate 3X Reaper, it is best to go for spawning pool first, but we're not going to be seeing that out of Polt. I mentioned this before. Polt is the kind of player who, yeah, he can mix in some cheeses, he can mix in some aggression, but for the most part, Polt is known for just being very solid and going for same sort of build orders multiple times and making it work through just raw execution. Toodming for now, gonna try and deal with the Reaper. I guess, again, the question on my mind is, does Toodming throw down the Baneling Nest a little bit earlier? Especially on this kind of map where the rally across the map, not even the drop play, the rally across the map could be a bit more concerning or alarming just because there's a lot more potential for it. Factories plop down behind this for Polt. He is going for, once again, that 2-Rax play. Gonna be getting up Stim as soon as he gets up the resources for it, and there it is. So Toodming gonna need to be prepared for it. Gets up a pretty quick Overlord speed so we can get some scouting information off, as well as just keep some of those Overlords alive. But Reaper not really getting a whole lot of vision inside the main base. And that's sort of the interesting thing, is that Polt is just gonna go for this 2-Rax pressure play. He's gonna get up the medevac, he's gonna get up a reactor on the factory to swap over to get up 2 medevacs at a time. He's gonna do all of this regardless of what Toodming is doing in the early game. As long as it's not some kind of big all-in. I guess the fact that the 3rd expansion finally does come down also is a bit of a relief, knowing that it's not going to be some weird 2-base Roach Ravager all-in or something. But Polt hasn't actually moved into the main base, seen the gas geysers or anything like that. Looks like we do have a Roach Horn coming out, though, so this is going to be a bit of a mix-up from Toodming, and honestly, I like it just in the sense that I don't think you can play as gritty as he did in the last game. I know I keep harping on this, but it's not something he can repeat, and I'm glad that he realizes it's not something he can repeat. Now, the Roach Ravager style is something that can deal with drop play, especially with the Queen range buff, where Queens now have 8 range versus air units, mostly about having that anti-air defense, dealing with the medevacs, pushing them back, making sure that it puts a timer on the push-in. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's an easy defense, though. Corrosive bile shots from the Roach Ravagers that he might make really aren't going to be able to, or aren't supposed to land. I'll say that. They are not supposed to hit any of the medevacs if the Terran player is paying attention and doing a really good job. But it does mean that Polt has an opportunity, despite the fact that Roaches should be out in time for this push-in, that he might still be able to get some damage done. Looks like the Reaper makes his way back in the main base, sees the lair timing, which is always nice to see, as well as some of the gas guys coming down. Did Polt end up spotting out the gas guys at the natural? Yeah, he did actually spot those out. 4 gas guys are, no, it's actually, yeah, 4 gas guys is already down, so that is a few more, and you can anticipate maybe seeing either some Ravagers, or he may anticipate just seeing some other stuff. But wow, these Marines stimming down not just the Zerglings, but also the Hatchery and the Roaches that they pop out. The Hatchery gets ridiculously low in health, and Polt gets a snipe on the Hatchery. That was not supposed to happen. Spore Crawler awkwardly trying to intercept the medevac, does get a couple of good pot shots off. Queen needs to get involved in there and try and start sniping off that medevac that's lower on health, but it is just going to get sniped down as it's not really being moved back. And oh my god, is Polt really doing this again? After not only getting the snipe off on the third expansion, he keeps some of these Marines alive. He's going to be able to continue to do more drop harassment, and with some of the Queens getting sniped off as well, that makes it even easier for Polt to continue with the harassment later on. Now, Polt only has 2 medevacs out. I don't really know what he's been doing with the starport in the meanwhile. It seems like he may have just halted production on that while he got up his the rest of his production, getting up some of those additional barracks, getting up a third expansion. He has been spending his money for sure, but I am really curious. It's a bit abnormal, I think, for Terran players to completely halt any production on that first starport. Even if you have the reactor, like at least getting some other units out as usual. And I guess the surprise for that comes in the fact that there isn't a third and fourth medevac coming out like we saw, for example, in that last game. So these Marines, they're finally going to be able to make their way across the map, but it's only after these next 2 medevacs finally come out. I like the fact that Polt said, well, I lost a lot of Marines. I only have enough for 1 medevac to actually hold, so let's send one of them back. That one can go join in with the rest of the Marines, and then he can load up with 3 medevacs worth of units, potentially. If he wants to continue that aggression. And based on that last game, and based on how much damage he's gotten done, I would be surprised, yeah, if he didn't go across the map one more time. Third expansion is also very safely defended, not just by the siege tanks, but the fact that Toodming has to stay at home and defend against the drop play. Either that or he's going fully all in, but clearly he's not going fully all in. Although he's only sitting on 49 workers, he may just be waiting for +1 range to finish up because he's only making roaches right now. I feel like that's almost out of necessity to defend though, more so than out of a desire to attack. Ravagers get focus fire down. The stutter step forward is going to be pretty strong over here for Polt. He's not moving in with the other drop at the same time though, and I feel like that is a little bit of a missed opportunity because that third expansion could be losing some drones, could be losing the hatchery itself, and Polt does end up losing half of the units that he had around. And now Toodming has the roaches in preparation. He is going to be prepared to deal with this, and this drop should not get a lot of damage done. Kills off 3 workers, so definitely not too bad with the focus fire there, but not as good as it could have been. Toodming, what is his plan? What does he want to do over here to make this work? He's sitting down in workers. He doesn't exactly have amazing tech. He's got some good, okay-ish upgrades, I would say. But he doesn't even have the income, really, to start up that +2 missile attack. Or +1 melee, if he so chooses to do so. I know some Zord players like to do some weird stuff like that. And just mix it in, get ready for an Ultras transition. Pray to God you're not going to get attacked, but that is not something you can hope for with Polt. Polt is a very aggressive player. And, well, the double medevac still prepared on the left side, and of course the siege tanks and the Marines prepared on the right side. And of course all of these roaches and ravagers pushing across the map. There is one siege tank back at home to defend. There's an overseer that is going to provide the high ground vision. This is going to turn into a really weird base trade, but you know the golden rule: do not base trade. Never base trade a Terran player. Third expansion is going to go down very, very quickly. Polt comes in with the double medevacs, and he should be picking up over here. I don't think he wants to take on this fight, but he is just busy microing his heart out back at home, trying to take the most cost-efficient engagements over here. Siege tank is going to get picked off as soon as it pops out, but Polt should be able to eventually whittle away at this army, especially with medevacs and siege tanks. There's no way that Polt should not be taking a better engagement. Toodming going on an all-out retreat back into his main base. He's going to end up losing quite a few drones in the process, though. And the problem is Toodming also does not have any workers out on the map. Ooh, losing the medevac over there. Less than ideal for Polt. Toodming doing not too bad of a job with some of those corrosive bile shots, but I guess, again, the problem is every single drone is cooped up inside of the main base. There's not going to be any opportunity to make buildings anywhere else. In fact, if Polt just hides his bases over in the corner, if Toodming cannot somehow make his way back, take on this army, and win this engagement, there's no chance for him to win. Siege tanks are unsieged, though. This is about the best engagement that Toodming can ask for, but it's not going to be enough. Polt takes the 2-0 lead in the series and is now 1 game away from moving on to that round of 8 for DreamHack Montreal. 2-0 lead, ladies and gentlemen, since we are potentially going to be moving into the last game of the day as well as the series, potentially. Might see if Toodming brings it back. We're gonna hop to our last potential ad break of the day. So thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll be back in just a little bit with game number 3. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are in a potential match point game. Well, I guess it is match points regardless. Spun down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the red Terran player leading up this series 2-0, representing Team Envious, and ready to move on to the next round. Give it up for Polt. And his opponent, spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, is fighting for his life and is going to do his absolute best to crawl his way back in this series. Can he do it? The Chinese Zerg player in blue, it's Toodming. And it's going to be Frost. Nice, long 4-player map that players are not going to know exactly where each other spawned immediately. Polt does send out, it looks like an SCV, or sorry, no, a Reaper Scout. As he did go for the Reaper opening, did go for the second barracks though, and this is what I was talking about. Polt loves just that consistency. We'll see how effective he's going to be over here. Zerglings get a full surround over there. Going to prevent that Reaper from making its way into the main base. And I've got to hand it to Toodming. You know, obviously hasn't been winning these games. Has had a lot of other troubles in this series, but he's been doing a really nice job handling that Reaper. Making sure every single game, this Reaper never actually gets into the main base. It never has a definitive confirmation of exactly what Toodming is up to. And look at this, even getting another surround over there, preventing that Reaper from hopping back in. Well, Reaper Grenade gonna do a little bit of damage. I mean, it's the nice small little things that he can do, but nothing super devastating. Factory plopping down behind this. Polt likely gonna just follow this up with the same sort of style. Double medevac pressure right around the same time that Stim finishes up. And we'll see, what is Toodming gonna do? The last game, he went for the roaches, he went for the sort of attempted defense, but you could see the problem without having the anti-air, but also just making sure you're in position. He lost that third expansion. Toodming losing the third expansion just because he wasn't in position with those roaches. The stim forwards, the double medevacs, it does a lot of damage and it takes out hatchery rather quickly. You have to have instantaneous reactions. You have to be prepared for it. Even having a queen, of course, is very helpful, and just buying a little bit of time for those, for the hatcheries or the roaches to everything to get over there to defend. But here we go. Stim is getting close to finishing up. The first 2 medevacs are going to be popping out pretty soon. What is Toodming's response going to be? What is his style going to be? He's going for the double evolution chamber play. He's getting a +1 carapace. I'm really starting to think that this might just be +1 melee, +1 carapace. He's going to go bailingless. But he's getting a lot more Zerglings this game. That is one thing I will say. He has more Zerglings coming out this game than he did in game number 1 on Apotheosis. For those who maybe tuned in a little bit later, who missed it, Apotheosis was, let's just say, a straightforward game. Polt came in with the double medevac drops. Toodming tried to defend with a pure Zergling composition, using some of the queens maybe as a bit of an anti-air defense, but Polt just took on the fights. He just took on the Zerglings with this double medevac drop. He didn't run from them. He got a good spot, unloaded his Marines, and was able to just decimate the Zergling count. Baneling Nest is coming out, but Toodming definitely getting up the Baneling Nest on the later side. Polt should be able to move in over here before Baneling Nest is finished up, before Banelings are out, because the Banelings take some time to actually be made. And oh, Toodming does find a nice surround over here. One of the important things about that Apotheosis game was that Polt was able to take engagements at a nice choke point. Zerglings weren't able to get a full surround. They weren't able to get all the full surface area they wanted. Polt's going to have a bit of a harder time on this map, I think. The third expansion does not really have a lot of really small little corners. You can maybe unload over here in the mineral line, but that's probably it. There's not a lot of area behind the mineral line. Natural expansion, same sort of deal. There's a lot of space behind this area compared to some other maps out there. But still, Polt is doing a nice job just kind of pushing in at the front, but I am liking this game a lot more than I have for any of the other games for Toodming. He's getting up 1-1. That's going to be finishing up just in time for any sort of additional pushouts that Polt tries to do. Polt's also not trying to add on any more medevacs besides the third and fourth ones, as they do pop out. But he's coming out with the siege tanks and a handful of those Marines. Once again, a full surround on these Marines, loses 2 of them, cleans up a handful of the Zerglings as well. He's trading out still cost efficiently, but Toodming is buying himself time. Time for the Banelings to get out. Time for the Spire now to be plopped down. And this is something he was missing in that first game. The anti-air defense is going to make it so much easier. If we can target fire down those medevacs, it puts a timer on these push-ins. Polt looking to hit in 2 different angles at the same time, though. Is Toodming going to be prepared for this? He does have some Banelings and Zerglings prepared in the main base, ready to defend. He's got the rest of his units over at the 3rd expansion, ready to defend. Creep is getting cleaned up. The siege tanks are unloaded, but oh, the medevac's not actually defending or picking up those siege tanks. One of them's going to end up falling down. The Marines all end up falling down. At the same time, though, Polt pushes in with the double medevacs, not going straight into the main base, going to the natural expansion. Here, he can get some damage done. Oh, the drones running the wrong way. You do not want to run into that meat grinder. Already taking a few losses, going to be taking a few more. And Polt evens up that worker count. But it's not over for Toodming just yet. Despite losing 17 workers, he should be able, he cleans up the drop at the bottom side, and he still does have that Spire finishing up. Spire's finished up, he can produce some Mutalisks if he had the gas for it, but he produced a lot of those Banelings, and that did cut into his Mutalisks production. Still, he's got 2-2 on the way. That's not the worst spot to be in. Polt only has 1 engineering bay. I think the Toodming is still, despite the damage he just took, is not in a terrible, terrible spot. I don't think this game is over by any means. He's definitely going to be playing a bit from behind, but he's got the capability, he's got the potential to bring this back. He's going to find this drop and kill off a couple of these Marines while Polt's not paying attention. That's really nice. Only 2 Marines end up surviving. That's not really enough to do a lot of damage. Polt's finally adding on that armory. Maybe wants to add on that 2nd engineering bay at some point, but for now, he's just going to continue that aggression. Corruptors coming out. Whoa, this is not what I was anticipating. I was certain we were going to be seeing some of the Mutalisks, but Corruptors. Gonna have a harder time chasing down these medevacs, but I suppose can still deal with the medevacs in their own way. Gonna be able to focus fire them down. Gonna be tankier units that can directly engage the medevacs underneath the fire of some of these Marines just because they have that extra armor. But there is 2-2 gonna be finishing up now. Baneling, Ling, Corruptor. It could work. Double engineering bay is finally finished up as yeah, he did finish up the 2nd engineering bay. He's going to continue to power out as many units as possible, but again, it's going to be 2-2 versus 1-1. Got to give a slight edge in the engagements over here for Toodming. Cleans up one of the medevacs as well that had a few units inside. Medevac's going to be on all-out retreat, and these Corruptors, oh, are they going to continue chasing? No, they cannot. Since those Marines can just unload and handle those without the ground support of those Lings and Banelings. Polt pushes in once again. This really is that sort of old school style of Terran where you just continue to throw units at your opponent. You continue to just rally in, harass. It's not really the New Age style where you end up seeing, yes, small little bits of harassment, but it's a focus on keeping the units alive. Polt is more concerned with just getting damage done. And so far, it's not working too terribly. I mean, it's not going too terribly. He's getting some stuff done, but Toodming is on the wrong side of the map to defend. He's going to be taking damage in both his 4th expansion and his 3rd expansion. Can he equalize the damage on the other side of the map? Zergling's forcing a lift off. The supply depot at the natural expansion is down. He raises the main base supply depots in time, but at the same time, Toodming loses his 4th expansion. He's going to end up losing that 3rd expansion more than likely. Banelings charge on in. Is it going to be enough? There's just way too good of a position. Toodming taps out, and Polt takes this series 3-0, moves on to the round of 8. Secures himself $6,000 minimum in this tournament, saying, I don't care if I don't need the WCS points. I got money that I want to win, and that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
What's up, Rifkin? How's it going, man? How you feeling?
I actually came back halfway through that game, but you seemed pretty into it, so I just let you finish.
Oh.
That was, I gotta say, like, there was more upsets and more challenging and crazier games in the round of 32 than the round of 16. And, like, yeah, just logically, it shouldn't work out like that, but I guess it did for this DreamHack.
Well, it just means seeding is working, question mark?
Yeah, I don't know. That is a big question mark.
Yeah.
That concludes our DreamHack qualifier coverage, or not even qualifier, excuse me, DreamHack coverage. Just too used to doing the qualifiers. So we'll be sending you guys over to the mainstream here in a moment. Big love to all those who tuned in. Thank you guys so much. If you want to help us out, stick around for one last commercial break before you take off. If you do want to just hang out in our chat, if you enjoy hanging out with the people here in chat, we'll be hosting DreamHack momentarily. But before we do go, I need to, of course, thank all of you for tuning in. Thanks to DreamHack for letting us join them, all this good stuff, but also our channel sponsors as well, because without them, we wouldn't have built up the channel to the point where they'd invite us in the first place. So without further ado, DreamHack shares G2A as a sponsor with us, so make sure to check out g2a.com. Get games on the cheap, and of course, save 3% off your purchase with promo code BASE. It also lets them know you came from the channel, which is a pretty big detail. CheersForGaming.com and CheersForGaming.ca if you live in Canada or the United States. Make sure to check out their websites. Promo code BaseTradeTV will save you $20 on any purchase and give you free shipping and handling. Corsair has all of their wonderful products listed down below. If you're really curious, click on those links, because again, those links tell them that you came from BaseTradeTV. There's Amazon affiliate links, same sort of deal. When you buy stuff through Amazon, we'll get some of the money. It's really cool. And then last but not least, is, of course, the Yord Wood Watches. Woodwatches.com/base if you want to see how much money we've raised towards the next big tournament. It's all displayed very publicly over there because #transparency. So again, if you're Dragon, before we go, any shout outs for yourself where people can find you if they enjoyed your casting and all that goodness?
Yeah, catch me at FearDragon64 on all the random social media and stuff. After DreamHack is done today, probably going to be streaming Nintendo 64 games. So if you like Banjo-Kazooie, if you like Bomberman and stuff, check that out at FearDragon64.
Yo, Conker's Bad Fur Day, man.
I do not have that game, but I am looking for it because I've seen people play through it, but I never had it because it was rated M for mature. My parents never got it for me.
Your parents hated you, man. Conker's Bad Fur Day was like the best game.
Oh,
I am the great mighty Pooh. Now I'm
I've
going
seen
to
that, yes.
my shit at you. A large supply of tish comes from my
God.
chocolate starfish.
Are we going to turn this into a map intro song?
Little
Karaoke of
twat.
this?
Yeah. Anyways, my bad singing aside, guys. We're gonna go quickly just play one last set of ads and host DreamHack. So thanks again for watching. Thanks again for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye bye.